What's the fastest way to lose fat and keep it from creeping back like permanently? I'm gonna let you in on a little secret. It's keto diet. I'm just kidding. It's not really keto. It's not also paleo. It's not intermittent fasting. It's not a vegan diet. It's really none of this. All of this can work, and especially like on a short term, you can lose fat probably pretty quickly by using all sorts of different methods. But I don't want to be counting calories or restricting myself for the rest of my life or thinking about something weird things or using some tricks or gimmicks to keep lean, to stay lean and to just live a normal healthy life. I don't want to be thinking about these things. First and foremost, what's going to happen if you want a permanent change and you want to really truly change your life and don't want to think about these things, you need to change or base this whole transformation on sort of your identity. You need to change as a person, because right now you're the different person that you're going to be once you are healthier and you have less fat. I use this word healthier because I think it's better to maybe attach it to something else than just your looks, because this isn't just about you getting abs. This is you really truly changing from inside out, about becoming healthier, more balanced, more your person who is more in control of her or himself. You're more responsible of your actions, so you're not running around trying to chase the next gimmick, and you're also not completely at the mercy of all these sort of addictions that you might have for food, that you just need to like snack these treats and things like that for no good reason at all. In very simplistic terms is that you'll be, in the end, no matter what you do, you'll be eating less. You'll also be eating most likely more, maybe more fresher foods, whole foods, less processed foods. So you'll be eating more better quality foods and you'll be eating less. And on top of that, if you don't already do that, you're going to be doing some sort of exercise in order to lose that fat. But this doesn't really help. It's like telling people just go and do it, just eat less and do this and that. But it's not so simple, because usually that's why the gimmicks are so popular, because they give you this sort of one cool, really sexy, like sounding thing that just makes you lose that fat. So to say that you just need to change your life a bit better, just live like a normal life, it doesn't really work. So first of all, you sort of let go of all the stuff that is holding you back, which is, as I said, is these sort of shortcuts. You need to let go of those completely first to make the change. And after that, you can start to do little changes, like little habits, because that's what you kind of consist of. You consist of the things that you do day to day. These little things will make all the difference in the long term, and they will accumulate and become something much bigger. That's how it happens, little by little, change by change. You start to maybe drop away like chips, or you reduce your alcohol drinking. Maybe you stop eating chocolate and ice cream every single night before bed, or anything. It could be anything. You start changing these little things in your life, and then it starts to accumulate. You start to change. You start to perceive yourself in a different way. You start to respect yourself and your body. That's also one of the things. You really need to like respect your body and listen to yourself. That's really in the core of what I do. Like while back when I made the Abs to NX guide, the intuitive eating, something where you listen to yourself, you listen to your body, and through that sort of inner change, you start to realize it's much more permanent change. And it's in the end, it's just life. There's nothing. It's not a diet, and then it's you. It's just your life that you live normally. And as a sort of the eating and everything isn't anymore anything that you're really thinking about. It just happens like you're eating better because you feel better and you are better, and you kind of acknowledge that. So you get rid of the bad habits, you start eating healthier little by little every single day, making little changes, and that's how you make change in the long term. And really truly keep that weight creeping back. You keep this permanent change. So many of you often ask me, like, what supplements then do you use to help with this? I think supplements can be helpful if you want to change your life. You can try different things to kind of in the start. In the end, you don't really need any supplements to make these changes. You don't need them, but they can be helpful. And I have a period of time where I was trying out many different supplements and protein powders, because I was like kind of curious, are these the magic trick? But I noticed they are not. But they can be helpful, and I'm going to show you a couple of supplements or vitamins that I have here. drink lots of green tea. And so these are currently the two supplements or the vitamins that I have. So this is zinc, this is vitamin C. So the interesting thing is this has been there quite for a while. I really don't use it often. I bought it one time, kind of, I was just feeling like, I was feeling like I need some zinc now. So I bought this, I took like one tablet and that's it. I usually really don't take this unless I feel like there's some kind of internal like message, you know, have some more zinc. But C vitamin I like to use sometimes when I feel like there's an inflammation coming on my body, like maybe I'm getting a flu or something like this. For example, just like maybe a month back, I think I was getting like some kind of disease, and I took this like every day for maybe like 4 or 5 days as sort of like a periodically kind of to help myself get rid of the inflammation, to recover. So that's how I use this, but not like every day, not every week, not all the time, really. But so regarding the vitamins, the sort of less, you know, healthier diet is, and the more they're going to kind of bring health, because otherwise your food is already going to give you a lot of nutritional benefits of these vitamins and minerals, and you don't need to take them from a pill. But one tip that I just kind of remember that I want to give is with regards to anything that you might be eating, whether it's vitamin supplements, any other food, whether it's meat, whether it's some vegetable, remember that no food is good like 100% of the time and every single day. No food is such that you should take it every single day and eat it as much as you can. There's always diminishing returns, and it's gonna end taxating your body. Like this is one of the reasons, for example, why I started to have weekend days every Wednesday, every Friday, to kind of let the body recover from the meat and take a break. But this really, as I said, it goes for anything. If you're taking supplements or some vitamins, keep a break from them every now and then. It does really good for your body to kind of have a break from these things. So there's one more thing that I use, and that's whey protein. I was sent this like about a month ago by one of the users of the Movement 20XX. He has his own protein line. It's the Primal Alchemy Vitamin Protein. The difference is this is not only protein, but it also has like nootropics, cacao and stuff like that, and it's all like organic and natural, which is one of the reasons why I actually wanted to try it out. But it's also something that I use every now and then, like not every day, maybe like three times a week around, just for a change. Just like any other supplements, I use it every now and then. But so Chris Storey is the creator of this protein, and I'm gonna have actually a video call with him later today. I think he's a really interesting guy. He's probably gonna talk about like his company, his vision, and our like philosophy, nutrition, and stuff like that. So this is Chris Storey. He's the founder of Primal Alchemy, right? And he contacted me. He said like maybe if I want to give a try for their protein powder, which I actually did. And from there, I was pretty impressed. I get like really hundreds of kind of requests to promote people's supplements, but I really saw something unique in Chris and thought like, yeah, why not give it a try? And so here he is, and you can just, introduce yourself and let me know kind of how did you find me, and we really wanted to.
Cool, man. So I think what's going to be best if I go over a little bit of background history myself, so it gives everyone an idea of my own sort of personal experience, how I then made the brand, and how your sort of philosophy on training also ties into that.
Yeah, so, really good actually.
So yeah, man, starting from a young age, when I was a kid, I've always been obsessed with superheroes, always been obsessed with Dragon Ball Z. I wanted to be like Goku. Goku was the man. And yeah, like as what seems to be the pattern is that as you grow up, you really seem to fade out of those ideas. You mature mentally. Whereas depending on what way you want to look at this, I didn't really go through that transition. I'm still obsessed with that childlike mentality of trying to be something better or something bigger than what is accepted in today's culture. So I kind of following with that mind frame. I went through finished school, became a personal trainer when I was 16. So I've been in the industry for a while, and I've been able to see a lot of growth and change within the industry in terms of the standards, the philosophies. Yeah, so did personal training throughout college, went to university, studied exercise physiology and nutrition. While I was at university, this is what really separates me from, I would say, a lot of the industry, is that I guess I come from a background that has to do with the esoteric sciences, which you can think of as the spiritual or sacred sciences that have been kept
You mean
guarded.
like alchemy stuff, or?
Yeah, like alchemy, astrology, the sort of sciences of understanding the human spirit and how to connect with that higher source. And yeah, so I got initiated into a few, what would be called, I guess, like esoteric fraternities here in England while I was at university. And I kind of really delved deep into the study of the symbolism of the sort of knowledge set that they were built upon. So as well as combining that with my actual university study, I really started to get a picture of what the human body was capable of, and what not too many people were aware of in generic public literature that's out there in just university itself. And it's pretty dated in terms of the research that that's paid for and which they undertake at these institutes. So after university, I went and worked on a cruise ship as a personal trainer for a few years, and this really enabled me to see different philosophies of health, of spirituality, of nutrition, of well-being and living all throughout the world. So I was over in Brazil, and you would see this sort of lifestyle they have over there, which is completely different to the lifestyle you might find over in like Southeast Asia. There's so many different modalities and ways of living. For humans, we seem to think in Western culture that we have one specific way of living and everyone lives like that, but it's really not the case. And when you start to do these, when you really start to travel and open up your eyes, you can see that the human experience is a lot broader than you may initially believe. So after doing these few years on the ships, I went and worked in Nepal as a physiotherapist, and I began to study Ayurvedic medicine. And there was a lot of things here that really opened my eyes in terms of, first of all, the actual medical practice itself of Ayurveda, and then just in watching how people can train, or their outlook on fitness when they don't have necessarily the equipment that we have in England, in Europe, in the States, etc. And it was really interesting, because then I began to look a lot more into, let's say, your type of training. That's really where I come about seeing your videos. I think it was back when you were based in Croatia. When you
it gotta be like some like year ago maybe.
No, this was a few years ago. This was back when you had that gym. When you were doing a lot of your videos in the gym with like the green astroturf on it.
Oh, that was still in Finland, actually.
Oh, Finland, yeah, man. That's really where I started first watching your videos, and then that sort of really coincided with the growth of like the movement culture. You got like Ido Portal, and you got a lot of these other sort of real sort of progressive forward thinkers within the field of the health and fitness industry, really. And as you guys started really coming out with the physical side of things in terms of actually the practical side, you had researchers like Katie Bowman, who was doing a lot of research into like literature-based research into movement training and how it affects the physiological system, the lymphatic system. And there was a lot of interest in there's a lot of interest in talk around, and I was like, this is really interesting, because when you spend so long in a certain paradigm of thinking in terms of training, like most of the time it's just general weight training, bodybuilding. Then it started to progress into more functional based training with kettlebells, Indian clubs, still maces, all that stuff was coming that was really interesting for me as well. So I really started to try and incorporate that into my practice. And then you've got your philosophy, you've got your type of training. that was that missing piece of the puzzle for me. And so I started to combine that, started to add that into my own training regime. And yeah, when I was out in Nepal, I was just like, you know what, I'm gonna this whole working for other people is not for me. I need to make my own path. I need to have my own journey here without any influences that go against my own interests. And so I was like, right, I'm going to put together a compendium of knowledge of everything that I've learned over the years. I'm going to make a brand that I feel would be suitable for this generation, in order to be able to be a voice of this generation, to put these messages and philosophies across. A lot of these teachings that I promote through the business, they've been around for thousands of years. But the only thing is that nowadays is that people, A, don't understand them, B, have no interest in them because of the context in which they're normally delivered through ancient texts, through looking at ancient monuments. A lot of the time, people just aren't really too interested in this. But if you can really decode that, decipher the message, extract it, and then be able to deliver it into a format for people to.
So you want to like translate sort of more ancient knowledge into maybe like in the more modern language.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's why you find that a lot of these ancient messages or these ancient teachings, at its core, is the same message, but they're disguised through different cultural contexts. And it's the same now. We haven't got that cultural context in order to be able to relate to. So it's about having that same message, but deliver it in a way in which people can relate to in this day and age. And that's really what I was planning on doing with the brand. So the brand itself is a superhuman optimization brand. It's all about finding a way in order to which the actual alchemical science is. It's the transmutation of a base metal into gold. The base metal is your human consciousness as it is now. It's your base level, and then you evolve that into the gold, which is your golden self, your higher self.
That's interesting, because I actually at some point I read about something like this, because usually it's taken as this, which is really like literal. So you're turning like actual like metals into gold, but it was, the original idea was sort of metaphorical. So they don't talk about really actual metals so much. They just talk about your, I don't know, I guess you could say psyche or spirit or just your being. It's like a transformation of yourself, which is really, I think, really cool, because usually it's just like, well, I'm just turning this metal into gold, which is not.
It's taken literally it was normally taken literal as in purpose, really, because a lot of these sciences, they hold secrets that at the time were dangerous to the establishments that were on ownership of the world. So back thousands of years ago, when you had the Catholic Church, Christianity was really the powerhouse of the world in terms of like the global authority. Having this sort of knowledge wasn't beneficial for them. Having taken the power into yourself was not good business for the church. So they really sort of stamped out this sort of knowledge. They did the Crusades, they did the Inquisition, they did all of these things in order to really stamp this knowledge out. So this knowledge had to go underground. It had to become coded so that only the people that were initiated into these groups could read between the lines and understand the greater meaning. And that's all well and good back then. That's what was needed. But at today's age, it's not needed. The whole structure of the world that has changed, and this knowledge needs to come out in order to allow us to take it to the next level. And that's really what I'm about with this. And for me, it's just been a fascination of just really taking all my passions, putting it together into one package and giving it out to people. So like I was just getting at, the brand is more than just health supplements. It's a complete human optimization brand. So it's everything to do with physical, mental, and spiritual optimization.
Exactly. Like I kind of understood, like it wasn't just a protein that you're promoting, but you actually had a vision, and you had also like the sort of the training side, which you mentioned, like you started to get into different, and I guess like just doing or trying the kind of more like sort of primal training types, just like in the movement to an extra, like you said. So that also was part of you, or helped you to sort of reach this higher potential.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly, man. I mean, you're not going to reach your highest potential if all you do is stand in front of a mirror and just do bicep curls and maybe just blast out some reps on the bench press. It's really about understanding what the human body is at its core level and what it's really designed for. And it's like, anatomically, we haven't changed in terms of accepted science for about 400,000 years, I think is it dates back to, in terms of the anatomy of us. And it's really about doing what we would have been doing back then and living a similar sort of lifestyle to mirror that. And that's when we're really going to be in touch with what we are as a species.
Yeah, that was something that really actually resonated with me, was that you weren't, because this usually there's just people promote like there's this one thing which will give you everything, but which was like it isn't the case at all. It's the sort of more holistic picture that I think you're spreading, which because first of all, when you said the message so about the protein, because that was basically the product you sell, but it's just like part of the whole bigger picture, which I realized once I visited like your website, for example. I was very impressed because it was very different. I haven't been to a website like that. The design and the art, like I love art and like to create art, and I could notice that you had a passion for creating something that's very visually nice, and I think that also it reflects the overall quality of everything that you have. Because I was already like sold once I saw that. So first of all, the quality ingredients, like I had the protein here. This is, I don't know if you can already see it, the design here, but like the website as well, it's just like amazing. Looking at the video just blew my mind that you have in there. So for me, it was like, okay, let's really give it this a try, this protein, and see what it's about, because I honestly get like hundreds of like people like asking me, do I want to promote? And I don't, at the moment, I don't use any supplements at all. So this was really the only one that I kind of felt like, yeah, I could give it a try.
Cool. Yeah. Thanks, man. I mean, you pretty much hit the nail on the head then in terms of what I was trying to do with the art. I mean, every art is a way of connecting with the consciousness, be that your own consciousness or the collective consciousness as a whole. And it has a way of speaking to you on levels that you're not consciously aware of. That's why it's all about subconscious like messaging. That's what artists have done for millennia. And as with anything, there's always an exoteric aspect and there's an esoteric aspect. And with this art, I really wanted it to talk to you on levels that you might not be consciously aware of to begin with. And it's all about planting seeds of these deep sacred messages and really sort of just putting it out there in the open in ways that that wouldn't be too adapt to begin with. And yeah, it's like, as you know, man, people are sick and tired of these big multinationalist brands that only care about profits and margins, and they release shitty products. They don't care about the product. They care about the money it's going to bring in. And for me, that was always what I was hating on the industry about. And that was one of the reasons why I wanted to bring something to the market that was authentic and made really from my heart and soul, in terms of trying to make this brand the best in the world for making the highest grade supplements. Like there should be no compromise when it comes to health. And when you really sort of begin to believe in that spiritual life, that spiritual way of thinking, there should be no compromises. Your health is sacred and you need to treat it as sacred.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
That's from every corner, every angle. You need to be optimized to the fullest that you can. And then you're not necessarily going to get that by buying some cheap ass supplement from your generic health food store. It's normally not going to work. You need to make sure that the ingredients are the highest grade. You need to understand that the difference between a synthetic extracted ingredient or a natural whole herb ingredient.
Yeah, I mean, I think like just so because for me, you can have, all this, art, and you can have all the sales pitch and all the marketing and whatever you can have there. But if like the actual product and which is the core of everything, the product and the ingredients in it, those are not the quality, like what's the point? And I think you had it right. So you had the very core to the product like is right and quality. And then on top of that, you had this great, like sort of, I don't know, like a framework where you kind of have it there. So that was, yeah, super good.
Yeah, I mean, it was really important to me just because it's with nutrition as well. Nutrition has gone through loads of kind of like, or it's going through a big paradigm shift as we speak. Before, it was all about that sort of like high protein, moderate carb, low fat diet. That's what everyone was about. That's how that's what fitness professionals would promote. And now the research is really starting to gear towards more of a ketogenic based diet, which is like a higher fat, low carb, moderate protein. So I wanted to make something that was really in line with that, where it's compared to other proteins. Like you go buy a tub of generic protein, it's got like 50 grams of protein per serving, which is just really unnecessary. The body doesn't need that. Whereas this has a decent amount of protein, nothing over the top, but it's really the other ingredients that really make it what it is.
See, that's one of the other things that I really like this, because it's people tend to go then overboard, and they think that when you have something that's good, then it's like the more you get the good, the better. When usually there's actually an amount that if you go surpass it, it just causes unnecessary stress to your body. And like that's with all like even the superfoods or what, it doesn't matter how healthy something is. If you take it, like try to use that as some kind of magic thing that you can just load up yourself, and that's good way to take it. But actually you have this sort of moderation there as well, and really like I just like that as well. Like,
that's really a result of just the industry itself and what it's become. It's everyone was trying to outdo each other, and then there wasn't any base for innovative products. So how do people compete? They compete by just trying to up the ante. They try and up the dosage of the ingredients. So that really puts you into a mind frame that more is better, and it's just not so. When it comes to these ingredients, you really have to know what you're talking about. You have to understand the science behind it, the effect that it has on the body, in order to really formulate a product that's beneficial on all levels. And that's what it's about. So obviously, just to go back to my point, saying to do with how the nutritional industries kind of like gearing towards the ketogenic diet now, or principles of that anyway. The next evolutionary step when it comes to nutrition, which is where I'm trying to place myself, it's that it's not even so much about the macro or even the micronutrients. It's about the photonic energy. It's about the light energy that is stored within what you take. You want a food that is an electron donor, not an electron stealer. And when you take it to this level, this is where you really take it to the spiritual level, because you're working with subtle energies. You're working with energies that affect you at a cellular level. And this is what it's really about. It's about finding foods that can power the mitochondria, which are the batteries of the cells, which are the batteries of your whole body. And there's that's going to be the next frontier. It's going to be foods, or looking back at our current sort of knowledge of food and seeing what foods are rich within these types of energies, be that photonic energy, which is like light energy, be it rich in electrons. That's where it's going to be. And that's what another way that I was developing the product is to have these adaptogenic herbs, these nootropic herbs, to have like raw cacao, these high vibrational superfoods that really deliver a potential amount of electrons into the body.
Okay, you kind of lost me there some, but I was like, okay, that is going somewhere. I have no idea about, which is actually, this is one of the things as well. Like it offers, I think, something more. You really have that thing, like you want to get this somewhere else than just like this basic stuff, which I think you can really reach that as well. But for like me, I'm trying to like kind of resonate
because for me it's always been like sort of, so there's this thing where you can kind of try to measure the things, measure some energies and, you know, research and really like study or, you know, do like a scientific things for the food. And then there's kind of the balance of what I've usually been doing, which is more intuitive, which is really isn't so much about kind of like knowing exactly what is there, but it's so you feel your body based on eating on that as well. Like kind of, I don't know, I just find like a balance between there as well.
Yeah, that's great, Eero. That's literally a lost trait or a lost natural skill of the human body, which is that intuition. And that intuition is powerful when you know how to connect with it, and you begin to. A lot of people get these messages, they feel them, but they don't understand how to respond to them. It's the general conditioning and programming of our culture is to throw that aside, that you need to look to the authoritative figure to understand what's right. But your body knows what's right. So there's a aspect of you, the higher self. It's always trying to talk to you. It's always trying to connect to you. It tells you what's right. It tells you what's wrong. You get these feelings all the time, and it's about trusting in yourself.
Yeah.
But you're never going to trust in yourself until you're on your path and you're on your journey, and then you begin. The more you begin to listen to yourself and act on that, you see that you're right the majority of the time. And that's great that you brought that up, because that's a really important message, which is being able to connect with that intuitive self and act on it.
You know, that's funny as well, because I wasn't even that much aware that you had these ideas as well. And because that's really been in the core of like even the training that I do of that, it's that you know your body, you listen to it, and that really guides you. And the way you explained is like you have all the time this sort of, what do you say, like higher kind of consciousness or sort of this thing.
Yeah,
and that's exactly how I experience it. And I think the more you start to, because you really need to follow it and trust it. And then you start to notice that actually these decisions that I do based on it are right, and I'm starting to feel better. And you explained that process really well, and I liked it. Yeah, that's exactly.
Yeah, and that's what that's one of the things that I would really sort of promote in terms of your journey as well when it comes to your training philosophy, is that it is about just listening to the body and doing what feels right. And you might have some guy on Instagram who's got a real good body, he's in good shape, and then you try to copy that, but it just doesn't work for you. Yet loads of people will be relentless and be like, no, got to stick to this plan. It says that I got to do 10 reps. If I don't do 10 reps, I'm not going to get the results. And it doesn't work like that. You really have to listen to your body, see what works for it, see what you react to the best. Like some people react to different exercises better than others. Some people are naturally suited to one form of exercise, while some people are naturally inclined to follow another. And you see that at a much more, I guess, natural level when you're children. When you're children, you don't have these preconceived ideas. You naturally do what you are interested in or what the body wants you to do. And that's why if you observe kids when they do some form of physical activity, you can see their natural inclination to certain types of exercise. And then it's really about sort of taking that and developing that further. And that's when you really start to become more in alignment with your true self and your body's true potential.
Oh yeah, I agree like 100%. That's exactly it. And one of the things is also, I think, because at the moment it really is that thing. People just look at kind of the surface of what this guy does, and they see the surface of numbers or the repetitions. But what really produces whatever comes out of it is what happens there in the inside in the body. Once in that very moment when you do the exercise, the way you connect to your body and the way you actually use and activate everything. And you can't see that usually from just looking at the surface. And this is completely left aside. Usually it's not even talked about. People only look at, I guess, everything else that's outside the training. They look at the frequency, they look at the numbers. In some cases, they only think about, for example, the supplement. So the supplement is the one that gives you, the gains. But they never actually, I think we've kind of lost the the actual craft and the art of training. Because you have, this art. I think training in some ways is a form of art as well, in that very present moment when you're like connecting to your body and doing those exercises. Like that's, I think, what is the very highest level every single time. And that's something that, I really want to bring out.
Especially with that, with the movement training, the movement philosophy you have, it's art in motion. Like art is a way of being able to express your inner self, your consciousness, and project it out into the external world. You're taking a vision from internal and you're projecting it into the external. And when you do these movement patterns, when you're in the flow, when you're not thinking, oh, should I go from this lizard crawl and hold on, I'm just going to flip into a handstand and then I'm going to do the monkey crawls. You're intuitively just reacting. Your body is it's the same when you watch like martial artists. Like I'm a real big fan of MMA, and you see that after they're at the highest level, they're not there thinking. All they're doing is just they're just reacting. They're in the moment, and they're letting their body take over. And if you let your body's intuitive intelligence take over, you do, man, hit that next level.
But I think there's also there's two types of kind of fighters and people, because some of them are more improvisers, so they can really get into the flow and be sort of chaotic. But I also see sort of another type of people who I think, for example, Georges St. Pierre is one of those who he practices these patterns like beforehand. So it's sort of like he has this certain but he has these extra movements that he wants to do. He practiced beforehand, and
like
then
a muscle memory.
It's sort of like based on these pre-learned things, and not so much room for actual improvisation. I think there's people in the fighting world, they kind of are divided between these two, things. But I guess both work depending on.
Yeah, if you take Eero to the extreme, you can hit some pretty interesting points. Yeah. It's about unifying. It's about unifying those two approaches, and that's so you begin the left brain and the right brain. You're beginning to unify the both areas of thinking or being in the moment, and that's when I really feel that you see people take it to the next level. But it's really interesting, man, because when I first started doing all the movement training, when I was watching your videos, it's hard, and you have to think a lot. It takes a lot of it's a brain workout. It's not just a physical workout. It's a mental workout to begin with, because there's so much going on. You've got the coordination, you've got your proprioceptive sort of ability to be able to know where your body is in a certain space, and where to direct it next. But then you're thinking about, oh man, I'm getting tired, I'm fatiguing, and then you're like, oh, like there's a lot going on, and it's a lot of stimulation to the brain. So I find that by doing this movement sort of training, it hits areas of your personal being that just generic training in the gym just wouldn't hit. It's a full being workout. It's a physical workout, and it's a mental workout. And when you hit that flow state where you're just in it and you're just doing it, you become in the moment, and you lose that sense of time. You lose whatever sort of thought patterns might be going on in your head. It's a meditation. It's a moving meditation. And I feel like this is the sort of stuff that was practiced. This is my belief, that this sort of training was practiced a long time ago, and it's a lost art that's really been forgotten about. We've tried to get into, as the Western civilization does. It's very scientific, it's very rational, and we disconnected ourselves from this part of being. And by reintegrating these practices back into your life, I feel like it would take people, it would change them. It does. It changes just a simple thing such as movement training can change your mentality and outlook at things, because first of all, it's an exercise. It changes what you believe is personally possible with your human body. But by actively meditating as well, you don't have to sit there and sit under a tree still for hours on end. You can do this form of activity and get the same benefits.
Yeah, and see, I think that's a good, because yeah, you really have to embody these things. Like we're talking about kind of adapting this more intuitive and spiritual, and I guess less scientific, or it is really less, it's a much less scientific way of approaching the life in general. And I think you really need to, because it's a whole different personality that you need to identify yourself. So having, you're actually changing, like literally changing your body and your coordination and everything through those exercises in the movement training. And then when you change the diet as well, maybe, overall healthier diet, maybe you use some of those supplements, like the protein powder that you have, and you start to change this whole persona will start to, like, I think, like you said, that's where we're at the core of these things. You have this transmutation that we talk about, and really requires that whole holistic thing on every single area of your life. You start to make little changes, which then I think take you there.
Yeah, and that's it. All begins to add up. Just one little spark is all it takes, and then you begin to re-hardwire the body. It's like you upgrade the body, you upgrade the internal hardware, and by upgrading the hardware, the software quickly follows. The better hardware you have available, the better software that you then have at your disposal in order to really, it's a complete upgrade. If all you do is just train for, say, you want hypertrophy, and all you do is just do a standard generic training program where you just go through isolation movements, a few compound movements maybe, yeah, you're going to get some good hardware. You're going to be able to, maybe you're going to look better, but is what's going on the inside, is that really happening? Is that improving? Is the networking in your brain, is that really being tested by these movements?
Right.
Like a simple one movement motion, just being able to bend your arm like that. Whereas if you're bending your arm while at the same time you got the locomotion in your legs, you're like twirling yourself over upon yourself.
Yeah. There's something I'd like to kind of mention, even that, because it's because there's kind of a division. So usually then if you do an isolation exercise or something like that, is usually thought that, because the way I think people connect these things is a bicep curl, for example, or any other isolation exercise. It's kind of combined to that sort of mindless training, because that's how they usually are. But for example, if I do a bicep curl, if I do any isolation exercise, I have the same connection to my body if I was doing a movement flow, which is like, I think that's also one of the next steps, because it's a sort of combination of precision training that is in the Athlete Twin X, which was the other, system that I have, the Movement Twin XX. So if I do a bicep curl or anything that's something like that simple, it's not really that simple to move your arm in a pure motion, because you need to you need to use your whole scapular muscular system to hold your arm still. You need to actually have your core and hips kind of connected. You need to be grounded to the floor, and then you can do that very pure motion and actually work that muscle. And it's not so much about even that muscle anymore, just that muscle, but it's the whole system that kind of supports you to move those arms. And so what I'm kind of trying to say is that even they have a lot of value, these isolation exercises, but it's just the way that they can also be done extremely spiritually, if you want.
It's the intent behind it, and it's the same. That's another way of looking at it. One thing might not necessarily be bad. It's your intent behind it that really directs the purpose of it.
Yeah, that's what we kind of talked also earlier. Like, you can't see everything from the surface, so it's like what you really need to like ask the person, what was your intention behind doing it. Yeah, but yeah, I mean, I think this is pretty good. I still want to mention about this because I really I like this so much, because when I first got this powder and I tasted it, and I usually, if I've had some other protein powders, they're kind of like overly sweet and just taste a bit disgusting in a way, to be honest. And with this one, like, it's super strong, like the sort of chocolate flavor, which comes from like actual chocolate, by the way. And it was also like fresh. It just doesn't taste sticky at all. And I think it was really good, even just regarding the taste as well.
Yeah, thanks, man. I'm glad you appreciate it. That's really what it was about. Like a lot of these brands, because they all use the same generic ingredients, they have to do something to separate themselves in order
Yeah,
to be able to distinguish what's one product, what's the next. And they normally just load it with artificial sweeteners, artificial flavorings, and that was
yeah,
really, it's just detrimental to yourself, to your taste,
yeah.
and
It is. It
it,
ruins the taste. Yeah, it ruins it, kind of.
it is.
That's true.
It's terrible. Like you look at a lot of these big brands that are out there, and you could like anyone could do this. If you go and look in any health food store, and you go and look at the protein powders, you go and look at pre-workouts, they're all gonna have aspartame, aspartame K,
Yeah,
sucrose. They've all got these sweeteners in that are just they're just used. There's no point in them. They're only there to mask the chemical shitstorm that's going on in that product. That's the
yeah,
only reason they're there for. If you use natural products, yeah, it's not gonna, or natural ingredients, sorry, yeah, it's not gonna be as maybe as appetizing on the palate if you're not desensitized to that sweet taste, but you're getting it as nature intended it, which is it's not overpowering. You need to find things that complement each other. So I've got the raw cacao in there, and then you've got some cinnamon, some ginger.
yeah.
You've got these natural sort of spices that
Oh
you
yeah,
can
they
add.
complement really nicely. Like you can taste
Yeah,
the sort of the little kind of herb taste there as well, which I also like so much. And but yeah, I mean this was such a great conversation. Actually, I really feel like I was
cool, man.
surprised kind of that we got, because your philosophy, it's so much. There's so much, I think, common factors that we have that we appreciate and that we value, like the higher self and all this with the training. And so
Yeah, thanks, Eero. It means a lot, and it was great. It was really great talking to you as well because I've it's one thing like watching all your videos, and then it's another thing actually talking to you and getting to like vibe with you
yeah,
and
yeah.
understand each other. And it's been good, man. I've really enjoyed talking to you, and hopefully, yeah, we can do this again sometime.
Yeah, I
And
think that would
yeah,
be possible very much so, because it was really great. And I mean, yeah, that was it. And I hope you can, by the way, the protein powder, you can go and check the link. I will put it down below. You can also use like a promo code, which was, I think was Eero.
so the promo code for everyone that's listening is going to be Primal Eero 10,
Yeah,
and
I'll write that down as well.
yeah, that'll give everyone who's listening 10% off if they're on the website through the checkout. You just put that into the discount code, and yeah, you'll be good to go.
All right, that was it. So yeah, thank you for coming to this interview, and it was really nice to have you here. And I hopefully we'll talk again soon.
Cool. Thanks, Eero.
Okay,
All the
then.
best, man.
Thanks. Bye, everyone, and stay strong.